Oh, oh my. Hello. So, I will be leaving for Japan. I'll be leaving for Japan tomorrow morning. Today is my last day back in Chicago. So I thought I would show you what I do to prepare for before I leave. And this time I'm going to be flying United to Vancouver and then taking Air Canada to Narita Airport. So, I usually pack a whole bunch of clothes, probably more clothes than I need, but I guess I like to have a lot of extras just in case I run out. And then I got some presents that I'm bringing. I got a couple pairs of shoes and all my toiletries. I'm bringing my Wii, and I got some speakers in here, and then some books, my DS, iPod, all that stuff. But all in all, I'm only going to bring check in one bag, and I think that if I bring in another bag, it's $30 extra. So I'm bringing one just in case I buy a bunch of stuff before I go. I've got I usually take, this is like my carry-on, and then I say that this is kind of like my purse, and that's how I get away with bringing 2 carry-on bags. Now you may be wondering why it looks like I'm talking to you from a basement, and that's because I am in a basement. Isn't that awesome? No. My brother, ever since I moved back home, I've moved down to the basement because my brother has a whole bunch of pet animals up in his room and they're noisy at night, so I just moved down to the basement where it's nice and cool and quiet and not smelly. So, let's see what I want to talk about. As far as bags go and packing and stuff for Japan, you have to keep in mind that it's so crowded, and especially when you get into Tokyo or you're taking the train, it's really a pain in the butt to move a bunch of bags around. And I know in the past, I always took I checked 2 bags, and then I would have 2 carry-on bags or something like that. And it would just be a real pain in the butt because it's not easy trying to maneuver around with thousands of people just zooming past you, and it's pretty tough if you don't have any help, especially. So, but it's always good to carry an extra bag just in case, to have a duffel bag packed in your suitcase just in case you buy a bunch of stuff, and then you don't have to ship it home, because shipping it home would be a lot more expensive than having to pay extra money to for an extra check luggage. Let's see what else. So I will be in Japan from July 29th until August 24th. I will be going to Okinawa July 31st to August 5th, and Korea August 16th, August 20th. So those are my plans while I'm there. I'm so excited to go. I can't wait. Let's see. And besides my trip, I thought I would talk about some more things about Japan that I come to notice, things that would differ with the U.S. So there's not really any kind they don't really bargain that much. I mean, I guess growing up in the city, and if I went to a garage sale, I could bargain with somebody for something. I just bought a bike for $30, a really nice Schwinn Super Latour I got for $30, and it was in awesome condition. And I bargained for it. But I remember one time I went to this little tiny restaurant, this little shop, and it was late at night. The owner that was there, this one guy that was there, we were asking him what do you have, and I guess when I was trying to order some food, they didn't have that, and they didn't have this or that, and I'm like what is going on? You don't have anything here. So and the beer was really expensive. I can't remember, it was $5 or something for one beer, and so
I was with like the rest of the exchange gang. I think it was with Christoph and Jeff and Panu. And I told the guy, I was like, hey, like, it's really expensive here, like, is there any way, like, maybe we could get, like, kind of a discount, like a student discount? I mean, I'm trying to order some food, you don't have anything, do you think you could help us out? And the guy just looked at me like, what? What are you talking about? Everybody else is like, no, don't bargain, don't do that, no, you can't bargain. And I'm like, ugh, and I felt like a total dick. But, yeah, the whole bargaining thing. And apparently in Akihabara, like in electric shops, you can bargain for stuff, but, I mean, I don't know how much really they will bargain. And somebody, if I'm wrong, please let me know. Tell me, Paul, you don't know anything. I bargain all the time. I mentioned this a bunch of times about like them not paying attention to people out in the street, or not. They don't acknowledge people, and I know that sounds like really weird, or maybe that's just being mean, but it's kind of like if I was riding my bike. I don't know how many times somebody wasn't looking at me and they were just coming straight at me, and I'm like, whoa, get out of the way. And I read in this book that it's kind of like, let's just take, for example, a Japanese man. So, like, he's got a bunch of obligations to his parents that are older than him. He's got in his job, he's got his bosses that are above him, and, like, his coworkers and people. There's a lot of responsibility that he has to do, and for his family, he's got to make sure that he provides. And he's going to work really early in the morning and coming home really late, and he's drinking even if he doesn't want to, and he's really busy. So basically, he's so busy and so like stressed out that he can't worry about little small things. So basically, when he's out in public, he kind of just like turns off and just zones out and doesn't pay attention, just because if he did, he would go crazy with all like sensory overload. And I don't know, again, that's what I read in a book, and it makes sense. I mean, it's a pretty good thing, and I was wondering like why does it feel like people aren't paying attention to anything? When I was walking in like Tokyo, or walking around, it just seems like they weren't aware. Credit card payments. So I remember when I went to the grocery store the first time, and the cashier, after she rung up all my stuff, she said something about, like, she was saying something, I didn't understand what she said, and she was like, 1 or 2 or 3, and I'm like, oh, and I was just like, yes? And she was asking how many times I wanted to spread out my payments for what I was buying, because apparently Japan doesn't use a revolving credit system, and I'm not really sure exactly what that means, but basically you can pay things off during the month, or you can choose how many like you want to break it up into payments of like 3 or 4 or whatever, and I would usually just do 1. I'm not really sure what that whole thing was about. Again, somebody please explain that to me. Soap and paper towels. It was really, it was rare to find in a public bathroom if they had soap, they just had soap and water. Or in some places they just had like a paper towels. Or they just have a blow dryer and water. It was rare that you would find a bathroom that had soap, paper towels, and a blow dryer, unless you went to like a nice restaurant or something. But otherwise, like being out in public, it's pretty rare to find stuff like that. Also, when I go into a fast food restaurant or some type of restaurant, like up above usually there'd be all the menu of all the single stuff, like, oh, like 1 hamburger is this much money, but usually they only have like the set menus. And I felt almost as if it was like, we don't want you to buy single things, we just want you to buy set menus. Until you got closer to the counter, they'd have a little mat that like showed you what it was, but then I'd feel like I was holding people up. I didn't want to like hold other people up. Yeah, and also Hapboshu. It's like I remember I was with Miyoko and I was buying beer, and I was like, let's get this, and she's like, no, that's not beer. And I'm like, well then what is it? And she was like, it's something different. It has a lower alcohol. It's a malt beer with a lower amount of alcohol, so it's not really beer, but it tastes like beer. And I guess like the tax is lower because it's not actually beer, so it's kind of popular and cheaper in Japan. Alright, I'll be recording the rest of my journey tomorrow. See you later.